We have a special episode for you today at Christian Women Business Builders. You all know that when we bring a guest on, it is because it is someone that we know you need to be introduced to. You need to hear their story because you are going to learn a lot. And today is no different. Today we have a special guest, Carrie Reichartz, with us. And I've had the chance to hear a little bit of Carrie's story myself. So I'm so excited to hear more today and to share that with you. Carrie is the founder of Rocketeers, Christian Rocketeers, where they focus on building solid, profitable Christian nonprofits fast. I love that. They're not wasting any time. They really like to help women focus on stepping into that purpose by seeking the Lord first, changing the world, and they equip them to start and fund the nonprofit ministry. So starting is just half the battle, funding it is the other half. Isn't that right, Carrie?
Actually, you'd be surprised. It's the people that's the hardest part.
Always the people. It always comes down to people. That's always the hardest part, no matter what you're doing. Well, Carrie, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you today. And as we're kicking off, I would just love to hear a little bit of your story of what got you to this point, because I know you didn't start out in life to help women create their own nonprofits. Give us a little bit of that journey and what that has looked like for you to kind of experience the nonprofit side of things as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Cassie. I'm so excited about this. I'm actually a retired lawyer. So I went on a short-term missions trip with my church in 2008. It was the year that I went. Never planning on leaving law, never planning on anything, but went to Kenya, and I just couldn't believe that people in 2008 lived in mud huts. I couldn't believe they lived without water, like not even dirty water, but like without water, period. And kids not going to school, and just, all of the things that occurred. And I just couldn't believe it. And it was like this, just rocked me to my core, that I wasn't sure what that meant. It was new in my relationship with Christ at the time. And so it was a whole new experience. I was just in tears. I was just broken, that how can people live like that while I live like this? Like, that's just,
and this was in 2008, you said, so not that long ago.
No, not that long ago. And so from there, it was just a journey. It was like, okay, what? Like, I didn't know what. I had no idea. There were so many needs, like I said, water, education, food, all these things. And I just kept seeking him and seeking him and seeking him. And not at the time, I was seeking my purpose. That was definitely what I was seeking. I didn't know enough about that to know that I needed to seek him. And as I sought him, he would reveal the purpose to me. What finally happened, long story short, got to like 2012, wrote my first book, From Lawyer to Missionary. And as I did that, it was a reflection back. I looked at my blogs to do that. And it was a reflection back on all of the conversations. So I started going to Kenya multiple times a year, just meeting with anyone that would meet with me. It might be lawyers, it might be government officials, it might be village women, it might be teenagers, it might be kids, at the school, like whoever would meet with me. I would just talk to them and just ask them, what's going on? What are the needs? Where do you see needs? What's going on? And just listen. You learn to become a really good listener, or you should become a very good listener, or you're not going to be a very good nonprofit leader if you're not a good listener. Or even meeting the needs of your clients, because you might think you know the answer for your clients, but that might not be the answer they're looking for. And if
like that could be a preface to anything, right? You're not going to be a good doctor if you don't become a good listener. You're not going to become a good nonprofit, business owner, pastor, teacher, whatever it is. That's great.
So true. So true. And so through that, God really revealed to me my own life story, as well as needs that were needed in the community that we were working in, called Vapingo, which is just north of Mombasa, which is the second biggest city in Kenya, right on the Indian Ocean. And beautiful, beautiful place, but also, like I shared, dire poverty. And so through that journey, it was a pregnancy crisis center. The girls in Kenya are left to the streets when they're pregnant. So it doesn't matter if there's Muslim families or if it's Christian families, it's an embarrassment, and they kick them out and leave them to the streets. Some of these girls are pregnant as a result of sex trafficking, some of them, incest, some of them, various circumstances, and some just, messing around at school. So, it's all these different circumstances, but they are left to the streets with nowhere to go. They're kicked out of school. They're kicked out of everything. There's nowhere for them to go. Nowhere.
So we're talking about truly the least of the least. And we're talking about already a impoverished area, and then being completely alone and pregnant in a impoverished area.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's nothing. There is nothing that they walk to the city to sell themselves into sex trafficking just to eat because they have nothing else. Babies are left on the side of the road after delivery in hopes that they can just go back home and just be accepted back. They go for illegal abortions. Abortion is illegal in Kenya in all circumstances, and so a lot of times the young girls are the ones that end up dying from those things because of the internal bleeding and all of those kind of things that happen from that. And so through that, he also then revealed that in my own life, I have a history of early pregnancy. I also have a history of rape and sexual abuse. And so that idea of overcoming that and coming through that, he healed me. This was not about healing my rape and sexual abuse. That was a whole separate journey that I needed to take with him and took with him. And then from there, he revealed these things to me. And it was needs that we've been meeting. So now we have Mercy's Light Family. It took a long time. This did not happen overnight. And Mercy's Light Family is now there fighting sex trafficking as well as healing girls that have been the victim of sexual assault in some sort of way and end up pregnant. They are able to live with us in our 3-year program where they come in. The first year we have emotional healing and spiritual healing. So they have their baby, they come to us pregnant, they have their baby, we have counseling, intensive counseling and spiritual counseling as well. Year 2 is vocational skills. So we work really, really hard on vocational skills. So we have tailoring, we have regular cooking, we have soap making, we're starting a catering program and so many different things that way. And then the 3rd year is business skills, because it's great if they can, make a dress or, make a pot of food or whatever. But if they can't sell that, they actually lost money. And they're in a worse circumstance than they were before they made the dress or, cooked the pot of food that didn't sell or whatever. And so that idea of keeping your books, that idea of marketing, that idea of all of those areas of business is the last kind of puzzle piece that we put together with them.
So it's almost like that idea of not just teaching them how to fish, but also, or not just how to catch a fish, but how to go and sell that fish in the market so that they can catch more fish and they can reach more. I love that. So you all are almost giving them a complete restart. I mean, you're helping their physical needs, you're giving them skills, and you're also teaching them how to use those skills in a marketplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The vision that God gave me for this was a lighthouse is our logo. And the vision that he gave me for that is that I thought we were the light, right? They were coming into our lighthouse and but actually what he said is like, no, they are the light. They're going to take the gospel to their community. This is an unreached people group as well. They're going to then go and help the other girls that are on the streets and pull them off the streets. Like, you're helping this group, but they're the ones that are going to change their community. They're the ones that are going to change it for Christ. They're the ones that are going to change it for the cultural things that are not appropriate, but are very, very culturally accepted. They're the ones that'll do that work.
And that's such a powerful shift. It's almost giving them their power back, that they're not having to come to receive that, but they are actually able to find that in themselves and go. That is so incredible. So tell me the journey from having left the law, retired from law, you have started the nonprofit, and now you're at a place where you feel like it's time to kind of multiply that impact, and you're serving others who are maybe they're like you, however many years ago, where they see a need or they feel the call or they're searching for that, they're looking for that purpose. Tell me about that kind of journey into helping others create nonprofits of their own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it started way back in 2010 when I was helping people with just the legal paperwork. And that was great. It was Christian nonprofits, usually working international, but also some domestic. And that idea of just helping them through the legal paperwork. It was a great way to make some money, as I had to walk away from my income with Ebola, a lot of different stories there. And it was just great. And it was able to help people. Walked away from that so I could focus on starting what we started. And I actually did not want to go back to it. Like, it was like, that was good, that was fun, but now, let's stay focused, let's stay over here, right? And about, I don't know, maybe it was 3 years ago, for sure 2 years ago, God just laid it on my heart. Like, all these people were calling me for help, all these people. And I was just like, oh, no, I don't want to. Like, I want to stay focused. I want to stay. And then more people would call and more people would call and more. And I was like, so finally I took it in prayer. It was like, okay, I'm getting a hint. Let me at least take it to prayer and see what he says. And it was like, oh, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. But he's like, no, I need you to do this. And actually it started in 2008, like the real, like, here we go. It was I was at the housewarming party for Mercy's Light. So the house was built. We're about to open for girls, and staff and stuff to come in. And we have this whole big party there. All the people that I knew there, some US people as well, and a lot of Kenyans. And he whispered to me and he said, I need you to write out this journey of starting this nonprofit. And I said, okay, that's great. And I assumed it was for my donors, right? Like, it was like, I need more money. Like, now we've got all the, like, okay, I can do that. So I wrote the book like 7 times. I've written books before. This is not even my second book. Like, I've written many books, and it's not that hard. Like, when you break it down, it's just not that hard. And it was just not coming together. I wrote the thing 7 times. One of the times it was like a double book. Like, it was actually 2 books in one. And I'm like, this is not it. This is not it. I don't understand what this is it. And so finally, when I took, these people were calling and all this, I take it to him and praise, like, the book isn't about your donors. It's about helping other people start these same nonprofits wherever I'm calling them to do that, be that, in Pittsburgh, or be that in, Uganda, or you be that anywhere in between, like, wherever it is, it's about that. And so that's what kind of birthed the where we're at now with Christian Rocketeers. And so that's where it comes from. It doesn't come from me. This is not something that I was seeking, but I love it. Like, I am just made for this. I love it. My legal background, of course, does not hurt. But it's just that idea of action. I don't like sitting around waiting. I don't like listening to people make excuses. I don't like people suffering, and girls suffered, and babies died, and girls died while I was trying to get this thing started. And there was no Christian resources out there for me to go to. And so that idea of, okay, this was a need that I didn't have met. And so how can I go about, meeting that need? And so that's where Christian Rocketeers came from. So.
I love that, because it's kind of a similar story. Whenever I started doing CWB and I went to search for a Christian business plan, I was like, oh, there has to be business plans out there with, a faith perspective that takes your faith walk. And there was nothing. And it was like this blinding gap in the marketplace. And I've never thought about it for a nonprofit, that the way you come to the table as a believer creating a nonprofit is probably very different than a way the world tells you to start a nonprofit. So in Christian Rocketeers, what is it specifically that you all do to kind of help that, like, speed up that process? How talk about some of those roadblocks that people probably have in their brain about setting up a nonprofit that may be keeping them from reaching out and starting.
Absolutely. There's so many. There are so many, but it's that idea of overwhelm is definitely a big one. They're out there searching for all this secular stuff, which there's nothing wrong with the secular stuff. Like, we work some of the secular stuff, of course, we need to, but it's the way we approach it, right? Like, we don't approach it because Carrie thinks this is a good idea, or the world says I have to do this, and this, and the laundry list is 10,000, items long, and you're solo trying to get this thing off the ground. Like, you cannot do that. And as much as you try, like, you're not going to get it done. And that's what I was coming up against, this idea of, like, I have to do 10,000 things and I can't do them all. Like, how am I going to do this? And it was a long process. And that was one of the reasons it took so long, because it was that idea of, it's not about you, Carrie. It's about what I'm calling you to do.
And I can
it's not about what the world says.
People who probably drawn to nonprofit probably have a little bit of that savior complex already, where it's like, I need to do something, right? It's like, oh, I have to make this happen. So I can see where that would lead to a lot of those feelings of, oh, I have to do all these things. And if I don't, then, I can't move forward. Or
Absolutely. And then knowing people were suffering in the meantime, right? So it's like, I've got that time pressure, and it's like, and that was self-imposed. Like, God takes care of everybody. I don't. I'm not there saving Bapingo. I am not there saving any one of these girls. He is. And that idea of turning that over to him and really trusting him in that journey. And so that's what we teach. We teach that through so many different ways. Of course, prayer being one of the major ones, but there are so many different ways. And it's something that we're not used to. We're so used to the world, and especially Western culture and the way we work. And so it's not something you learn like that. Like, it is something you need to be coached into. And when the next circumstance comes, that's a little different than the last one. Like, you need to be reminded, like, hey, he's still got this one too. Right. And then the next one, like, hey, he's still got this one too. Right. But it's hard to do when you're doing that solo. In fact, I don't even know if it's possible to do it solo. Like, you have to be in community. I mean, it's the body of Christ for a reason. He is not calling us to do these things in a vacuum. We need to be in community. We need to be reaching out, and we need to be doing that together. So that is definitely one area. Funding, of course, that's what I thought my biggest problem was. If I just had the money, then none of this would be a problem. Like, just give me the money. Like,
again, I feel like you could put anything in there, right? Well, if I just had the money, I could fix this problem.
Right. Exactly. So it was just like, and it's like, and we teach in our course the idea of, it's not about the money. When you are ready, the money will be there. When you are ready and when the right people are at the table. And it's more about the people. And number one, about you and self-leadership and your own internal healing. You don't come into this to heal your own rape and sexual abuse. Like, that is not going to happen. Like, that is not what this is about. You are leading other people in this. You are not in this alone. And so you need to bring your own healing. And then he needs to get those other people to the table that you need, those key people, especially if you're working in a foreign country, which we do specialize in those. We work in the US as well. And all of them are US nonprofits, but also doing work overseas. And we've got to find those key people, right? We got to find the Barnabas. We got to find the Paul. We've got to find those people on that side. If we are frequently in the US side and visiting over there, we've got to find those main people. And so people is really your biggest problem. And he brings those as well. So the good news is it doesn't matter what your biggest problem is or what you think your biggest problem is, because he's got it solved. We just need to seek him, and that reminder to seek him, and that ability to seek him, and even knowing how. And then someone that's gone ahead of you on the journey that has been through this, like, yeah, don't worry. I went through that. This is the, whatever that is. And then our whole entire community, which with their circumstances and their things as well.
And I feel like having that, talking about that mentorship of somebody who's gone ahead, it's like that best practices. Like, you can do it however you want, but we're going to share what worked or what didn't work, so that you can kind of speed up that learning process, right? We're all going to make mistakes, but make your own mistakes. Don't make mine again, right?
Exactly. I'm still paying for some of those mistakes. And it's like 13 years. Like, you get to skip those 13 years of, oh no, oh this.
Yeah, we'll get you on the 13-year track to making your own mistakes. Right. We'll cut that curve down. Right. I love that. Right. Exactly. So when we're talking about, I know you have an event coming up. Tell us a little bit about that event coming up, because I know that a lot of the audience that listen to this podcast are business minded, but I guarantee you that impact is what drives them. So tell us about the event you have coming up for somebody who may be feeling like asking those questions. Okay, can I have a business and a nonprofit? When do I need to have a business or a nonprofit? If I'm ready to start that nonprofit, how do I accelerate that process? So tell us a little bit about that event and what we can kind of expect to learn.
Absolutely. Number one, to answer part of your question there, I am a business owner. In fact, I'm a multi-business owner, as well as a nonprofit executive director and multiple nonprofits as well. So the answer
you
is
can
yes,
do both, right?
You can do both, and you can do multiple of both. Like, it is not impossible. God will bring the people, and he will organize you in a way that is best suited to your gifts, and he'll bring those other people alongside you. So yes, if he's calling you to that, you absolutely should, which kind of goes to what our event is. And so we have our Passport to Purpose coming up. It's actually a 5-day world tour. So we're going around the world. We're making a few stops, Costa Rica, Kenya.
We get to do a little traveling while we're learning. I love it.
We wanted to make it fun. And so we thought, this is awesome. This is really going to be fun. And so we really incorporated that theme into what we're doing on our Passport to Purpose. And the idea is we're seeking God, right? We're not sure what our purpose is, or we feel like he's leading us to a nonprofit, but people think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy. I'm overwhelmed, all these, we could laundry list all these things. I don't have the money, all these different things, right? And so what we first need to figure out is God calling you to this? Is this what God is calling you to? And if not, like, what is it? And really getting deep on what your purpose is. And so, because if it's not of God, it's not going to work. Right. As much as we can try, it might work for a little while, but you're going to have to be the one doing this, right? Holding all the balls up in the air, not him. And that is not with ease and grace. And that is what we teach. We teach how to do this with ease and grace. Your family's not going to hate you. You're going to have plenty of time with your family and your friends. Like, you can do this and, do whatever your business and whatever.
So you're saying we don't have to close our business and move to the outskirts of Kenya in order to start a nonprofit?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can do this with ease and grace right here from the US, even if it's a foreign nonprofit, and you got to do what he's calling. And that's what we teach in there. But the Passport to Purpose is that place that we are carving out to take this fun world tour to really seek him. and really find out, like, what are you calling me to? And if it's, if the location as well as the what, all the who, what, when, where, why of that. And so we start on Monday, go all the way through to Friday. It's a free challenge. It's going to be so fun. I'm so excited about it. We actually were recording it a couple weeks ago, and we're just really preparing for it. We're really, really excited about it. And I'm really excited because that's one of my big passions in the world is whatever God's calling you to do. I don't care if it's go to your neighbor and, tell them, give them cookies, or if it's, go start a nonprofit in Uganda or the Soviet Union or whatever it is, like he has the way prepared ahead of you. It's all over the word, especially Ephesians 2:10, but it's all over the place. And of course, as I've been seeking that, I've been seeing it more and more. It's in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament, it is all over. So whatever your purpose is, people are suffering, waiting for you. And I'm comfortable here.
I love that. Not that people are suffering, but that you were there to kind of partner alongside. And we were talking just a minute ahead of time, but seeking the Lord first, not seeking that purpose first. So I love that. Right. Carrie, we're going to drop the link directly where you can register for the challenge here. But if people want to connect with you, if they want to come ask you a question, if they want to come and reach out and learn more about you, tell us where the best place is for those who want to learn more.
Absolutely. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Building. Actually, the best place though to catch me, to make sure it's me, is mercieslight.org. Go to the contact us there, and I get those directly. No one else gets those. So that way, you get me, and we'll be able to connect and get you whatever it is you need to do, chatting or emailing or whatever it is.
And you can also go there if you want to make a donation towards her nonprofit, Mercy's Light, as well. There are options, everything from I think it was like $5 up to, $20 all the way up. So if you just feel like at this season of life, your opportunity is to give, and then you want to register and see if that next step is for you. That opportunity is there as well. Well, Carrie, do you have any last words you would like to share with our audience today?
I think my last words, there's so many that I could go to, but I would say the patience. I know we hate that word, but as we're in the waits, like he's working in the wait. We don't need to be the one always active, like he is active in the background. And as we let it go, he takes it up and takes that torch. So don't rush. And that goes to business, and it also goes to nonprofit, to trust him in the timing.
I love that. He is working in the wait too. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I have little bears in the background who are ready for mom's attention. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I want to wish you blessings on your trip that you have coming up to go to the organization, and just encourage everyone, if you think there's even an inkling that the Lord is asking you to start a nonprofit, go ahead and get registered for that event. If anything, you will have more information and get to see part of the world. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Cassie.